What's up? It's a pretty crazy time right now. A lot of crazy things going on, and we're pretty close to the election time, which is going to result in a lot of other crazy things going on. So I think this is a perfect time to make a video like this. So basically, for the past 7 years, I have been putting out warnings that a lot of these things would be happening, that are happening right now, and that are going to happen. I've been warning about chaos and different events that would be happening. And then around 2022, I started taking the warnings up a notch. And I started being a little bit more specific, started to increase the frequency of the warnings. And I talked about, being prepared for chaos. That's been a big theme, is preparing for chaos. And having this mindset that that's what you're basically expecting. You expect anything. And so, I'll probably put that in the title of this message, Chaos Mindset, because that's exactly what you need to have. You need to have a mindset right now that is going to expect chaos. Because if you don't have that mindset, you're going to be sorely mistaken. You're going to be confused. You're going to be let down if you have any other mindset except expecting total chaos, okay? And so this isn't to scare you, to harm you, to fearmonger. It is to help you, to prepare you in the best way possible. And in this message, I'm going to be as straightforward and as blunt as I can, because I'm not going to be doing any more warnings like this. I've already been doing it, as I said, for a long time. I have made a playlist called End Times Chaos, which is 80 videos, okay? Plenty of warning, and to help prepare people. And, I'm also going to be making another playlist to help out with people that can't watch all that. They haven't had time to watch the whole thing. I'm going to narrow that 80 video playlist down to about 28 videos. I'll make another playlist called Chaos Mindset. And at least if you get through those when you're, on a drive, working or something like that, or mowing the lawn, just try to get through as many of those as you can to get yourself ready, get yourself in the right mindset, because you really need to do that right now. Whatever you've been putting off to do, now is the time to do it. And I'm going to be talking more about that later in this message. So I started stepping up the warnings in 2022. I talked about the author of confusion, that there are people out here that like to cause chaos. They laugh at destruction, these types of things. And then another video I made is about the purpose of a system is what it does. And that one is really important for right now, because people keep, things keep happening and people say, oh man, people are so dumb, they're so incompetent, and oh, they're supposed to do this, but they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And then when that keeps happening over and over again, you think that eventually they go, hey, maybe they're not doing it out of incompetence, maybe they're actually doing it on purpose. And because they keep doing the same bad things to the same people over and over again, okay? And this is where you're going to see, as I said before, people snap. You're going to see people break because their mindset is incorrect. Their way of thinking is totally wrong. And so what they're expecting is not happening, and it's not going to happen. And so that brings me to some of the events that have been going on recently. So I'm going to go over that. And there's a lot of lessons that we can take from that. And I'm going to bring that to coming up to this election. So recently, a lot of things have been kicking off. Of course, the Middle East, things went up to the next level with Israel and other countries. They started going to war with Lebanon. They just did they're starting to do a ground invasion of Lebanon. Then Iran just did a big strike on Israel, and did get through their Iron Dome. And Israel's supposed to retaliate at the time of this recording. And that's a huge escalation. And we know that for years, Israel has wanted to, Netanyahu's talked about wanting to stop Iran, and that they're the main target. And also, leaders in the United States have talked about that they had a plan of 7 different countries, and Iran was one of those. They want to take them out. And there's a lot of reasons for that. On the surface level, it's, this political issue and Israel issues with Israel. But there's also always, underneath the surface, you need to understand that there are spiritual reasons for these things as well. Now, if you watch my video, which is called Bibi Invokes Holy War, later in that video, I talk about how, there are Jews that want the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Dome of the Rock to be destroyed. They say it has to be removed because they want to build a temple there, right? And they have everything they need to build a temple there. Temple Institute says they can do it in like 3 weeks. They have everything they need, but they can't do it until that mosque is gone. Well, guess what? As soon as that mosque is attacked, demolished, whatever, every Muslim in the world is going to flip out and want to attack them. So, looks like to me that what they're doing now is preparing for this by, they allowed the October 7th to happen. That's a fact. It's proven. Have all the evidence for that they let it happen. They could have prevented it, and they didn't. They used it as a pretext, casus belli, to attack them. And then, and so they pretty much cleared out Gaza. Now they're going after Lebanon. All the Hezbollah, they're going to clear a lot of them out. And then they want to take out Iran as well. And all those immediate threats, the strongest threats, they're trying to weaken them and get rid of them as much as possible so that when the Al-Aqsa Mosque is finally destroyed, it won't be as big of an immediate threat when it happens. That's absolutely what's going to happen. And think about this even from a bigger picture, right? I talk a lot about the Vatican on the channel, and I believe they're one level above the Zionists. And they also have a big interest in Jerusalem and these holy sites, and they want to be involved in controlling that as well. And what you have to understand is, if we fast forward, right, reverse engineer this, go through Bible prophecy, and that there has to be, this one world system, right? And there's going to be new religion, worship of the beast. Well, guess what? That can't happen unless there's a destruction of everything else first, governments, religions, and all these things. And then when they finally turn towards, hey, here's the real mysteries, here's the pure Luciferian doctrine, brought it into open view, externalization of the hierarchy, all this stuff. Once they finally do that, they can't have people standing in the way who would resist, right? Who would be opposed to that? Well, who would be opposed to that? Obviously, Bible-believing Christians, but also there'd be strong, hardcore Muslims as well. That's just a fact, right? So they have to get rid of a lot of those. I believe they're going to eliminate a lot of them. And then bring everyone else to the point of exhaustion, and then they're begging for a savior, and they get them to that point through chaos and stress and all these things, right? So you just kind of walk, you see where it's going, then you work your way backwards and say, okay, they have to get rid of these, and these in order to get to there. And so, there's a lot going on there, but we're really close to all that stuff going down in the Middle East. And of course, the United States is always dragged into the stuff, giving them billions of dollars, giving Ukraine billions of dollars when we need it here. I'll get to that in a second. There's obviously a bunch of other crazy stuff happening. There's, a lot of industrial accidents happening, which is starting to look like sabotage, right? All these plants going up in flames, chemical spills everywhere. It's getting pretty strange, right? And it just keeps happening over and over and over again in a higher frequency than normal. Don't let anyone tell you this is normal. It's not. It's a higher frequency than it ever has been. And people have to shelter in place and evacuate because of these chemical spills and stuff. And I'm just showing you that there's all different things that are happening all at one time. And then at the same time, too, I'm going to talk about the hurricane devastation in a second. At the same time, there's this hurricane, Helene, devastating the area of western North Carolina, Virginia, eastern Tennessee, Georgia, Florida. At the same time as that, all of a sudden, the Longshoremen Union decides to go on strike, and so all the ports on the East Coast shut down right at the time where we need shipments of goods more than ever. And of course, that's going to jack up the price of goods. It is going to limit the availability of goods that are needed. And then that brings me to the hurricane thing. And there's a lot of lessons to take from this. So please don't just focus on it as just this hurricane in just this area. You have to see the bigger picture, okay? So let's talk about that for a second. So I've been looking into this a lot, what's been going on there. And the devastation there is unbelievable. It's already being compared to Katrina. It might end up being worse. There's hundreds of people still missing. Because there's entire towns that have been wiped out. There's entire roads that are completely gone. I-40 shut down between North Carolina and Tennessee. Tons of other roads, bridges washed out. And some other funny stuff is going on, though. Very bad. So, you know, a lot of people wanted to help in this area. They wanted to send goods and you know, donate money and goods and these types of things. Well, they're getting turned away. And I just listened to a recording of people talking together on a radio from that area. And they said they went to, I believe it was Black Mountain, and they said the local government told them, don't bring any more goods here. We don't need anything from you guys. Don't bring any more. You need to bring everything to FEMA. Okay, and this is not just from this incident. There's been multiple people that have reported on the ground there that they're telling people, you cannot donate and help your neighbors directly. You cannot give money and goods to people directly. You need to give it to FEMA and give them your money and goods, and they'll distribute it when they, you know, wherever they decide to do that. And what's interesting about that is they're having people, you know, FEMA's also telling people, well, we can't come up to, you know, go up through these places where it's a disaster zone. We don't have road access, making people come down to them to try to get stuff. But then there's also a bunch of people, private citizens, that are taking helicopters in that area to rescue people. And they're flying up and down rivers and roads looking for SOS signals on the ground, and they're finding people landing in fields, bringing them supplies, trying to pull people out if they need to. And one guy that is flying down there, I think he might have been associated with the National Guard. He said he looks around and it's mostly private individuals, and he saw maybe like 2 guys from the feds, and that's it. So the response is extremely lackluster from the feds, and blocking people from helping their neighbors directly and threatening them with arrest is disgusting. It is absolutely insane. And I'm just going to tell you something right now. This is a lesson that we should take from this, because this isn't going to be the last time that this happens. There's going to be other disasters, whether there are natural disasters or some other crazy event, mass casualty events. And what we're going to see here is that this actually happened in Hawaii too, at the Lahaina thing, that, you know, people were told, you know, when there was fires coming at them, well, you can't go down that road to get out of here. They're like trying to block people. But it said that some of the people who disobeyed and just went anyway survived, and the people who did listen ended up dead. And so, you know, yes, we're supposed to obey as much as we can, but it doesn't make sense to obey when it comes to saving life, protecting life, and it just doesn't make any logical sense. That doesn't mean we just obey blindly and just not even think about it, okay? So what I'm saying here is, what we're going to have to do in the future, probably, is some of the help that we may have to give people. Because I believe, first of all, that especially as Christians, we need to, if we have the ability, we have the resources, and we're close enough to help people, then we should try to help them physically. But if they're doing things like that, blocking you from helping people, first of all, do not donate to the feds. Do not donate to Red Cross or any of these organizations. They're totally corrupt. They're awful, and it's worse than doing nothing. Okay, it's awful. Do not do that. Try to find other people you know you can trust to donate to directly. And if you want to physically help, you might have to do it on the down low. You might have to do some clandestine operations to get resources to people or help them out, and go around where they're telling you, oh, you can't help these people. Well, at a certain point, when it's life or death, people need help, man. And we can't wait around for this crazy federal bureaucracy to give you permission and wait days and days and days before they finally initiate this and do it in their way, when it's totally inefficient. It doesn't make sense. People are not prioritized. They don't have a sense of urgency that they should. We need to just take action, and that's all there is to it. And so I'm saying this now because I believe that there's going to be other situations where this could happen around the country, around the world. And I think that you end up in that situation. I think it's pretty clear what the right thing to do would be, is to try to help people any way that you can. But, be smart about it. Be smart about it. You might not be able to take your phone with you, right? I mean, that's why I think it's important to develop other methods of communication. I can share some of that in the Telegram group, but you should definitely get something bare minimum, some Baofangs or something, because if you bring a phone with you, that's just easily tracked. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, you're gonna have to think outside the box. We can't just blindly listen to these people. And you wonder what is really going on, because people talk about, oh, okay, well, in this area around Asheville, there's a giant deposit of lithium. Do they want to get access to that? Do they want to buy up land for pennies on the dollar? Do they want to, big companies want to offer these people there a little bit of money to take their land, buy it up so they can do other things with it? And there's a lot of other things going on like that. So you really just have to be careful when it comes to situations like this, because there's so much information, there's so much going on that it's hard to know. But, verify, especially with people on the ground there, citizens, as much as you can, for as long as we can, because there might be a time where, we might not have access to the internet and stuff, which is going to make things a lot harder. But just keep in mind all these lessons that we're learning now. Take them with you in the future, okay? Now, another thing I want to segue from that is take a step back and think about more than just this devastation from the hurricane and everything. Please also pray for all the people there, and that more people can be rescued. A lot of people have already been helped, thankfully, by private citizens and others. So there's definitely some National Guard helping, but a lot of private citizens have helped. So please pray for them, and that more people would get out of there and get helped. But I want to take a step back and think about this, okay? Because what's going to happen is this isn't the end of it, okay? It's going to take a long time for them to fix that. Some of the stuff that won't even be like, well, I don't even know if we want to fix this, But this is just one thing, okay? One event here right now. And I want you to take a step back and see that there's a lot more that's happening, is going to be happening, especially coming up to the election, okay? So let's talk about that. So let's talk about this in multiple different scenarios, showing that no matter the outcome, you have to expect that things are going to get wild. So before I get into, different scenarios of what could happen, I just want to talk about, terms of Trump and Kamala and all that stuff. I don't think that Christians should. Some Christians have reasons why they're going to vote for Trump. Some have reasons why they're not going to vote for him, or vote at all. I don't believe a Christian can vote for Democrats, especially right now. They support everything that's bad. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense how a Christian could vote for them. Now, there's some Christians that think that, they're upset with Trump about what happened with the pandemic, how he still defends the shots, and a lot of other things. They have reasons, and that's okay. And then others that have reasons why they think they might not even like him, but, he's their only hope to stop things, and it's the lesser of two evils, whatever it is. I don't think we should argue about that, okay? At this point, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. People have the reasons to go either way. Definitely not Democrat, though. But concerning the other reasons, we should think about the different scenarios as to what could happen, okay? So, let's say Kamala gets in, okay? If she gets in, then a lot of people on the right are actually really upset. And I know for a fact, I've been monitoring a lot of the stuff, watching a lot of people who are veterans, who on podcasts, a lot of people who from different groups, and they are like this close to just, you know, going nuts. One guy was a lieutenant. He was a lieutenant colonel in the military, and he said in the past month, he said multiple veterans contacted him saying that if, and of course, you know, they believe that if Kamala gets in, it's stolen. Because, I mean, everything looks like he should win, right? But we don't know what's going to happen. So if it looks like he doesn't get in, it looks like that it's stolen, these people are going to be mad. A bunch of people contacted this guy and said, what are your orders? And when they say, what are your orders, they want to know what to do if it's stolen. They believe it's stolen again. They're ready to, you know, go kinetic. They're ready to take up arms. I mean, that's it. The people are at that point right now. And so if that happens, you can expect huge backlash from that. Absolutely violence from that side. And then, of course, whatever will come back upon them, and then there's a big conflict. And then go to the other side. Let's say Trump does get in. Well, what's going to happen? Of course, the left says that he's Hitler. Every chance they get, you know, there's these violence everywhere. There's violence in 2020. We know how they are. They would flip out, right? And we don't know what the response would be, but it might be that Trump does a bigger response. He brings the hammer down to squash the riots. He declares martial law and starts crushing that. But then there's other things that can happen with that. Because of how other countries are, especially the European Union, they're out of their minds. And people, you know, like the leader of the UK, threatening people to arrest them if they post supposed misinformation online, people getting visits from the police for things that they post on social media. I mean, they're insane. And so you don't think that, let's say Trump went, you know, laid the hammer down against rioters and all this stuff across the country. You don't think other countries like European Union would be like, oh, he's become a dictator and all this stuff, we need to intervene, just like we've intervened in other countries and declared them dictators and given an excuse to invade them. And you don't think that Russia and China would take advantage of this opportunity, right? And so for the division, maybe even drop off weapons to one side of a conflict and all these different things. So the point is, we don't have to make an exact prediction of what's going to happen. The point is, no matter what happens, there is going to be chaos and violence, no matter what. There's no getting past that. There's no getting around that. It's going to happen. And so, connected with that, you also have to think about all the other things going on in the world, Russia and Ukraine and China, Taiwan, Israel and Iran, the Middle East, the whole thing. It's all a big powder keg together. Then you got to think, okay, wait a second. Not only at this time of this election where all this chaos could happen, not only is it conflict between these political parties, but also we have a wide open border. And so they've admitted that all these people come through from gangs, from cartels. Terrorists could come in from other countries. Who knows, right? And of course, our own government is extremely dangerous themselves, and they could do things and blame it on someone else, right? Million different possibilities. But they could start doing stuff too. They're already infrastructure has been attacked. Substations have been attacked. That's a fact. And other infrastructure could be attacked as well. And if you don't think that there's groups here that wouldn't take advantage of that chaos at the election, you're out of your mind. Extremely naive. You have no idea what you're talking about. And so explaining all of this to say that you have to get your head out of the sand, you have to get ready right now, you have to prepare for chaos, and that is it. There is no more thinking things are going to go back to the way they were, or they'll calm down and things will get better or something like that. That is absolutely the worst thing that you could think. Okay, that is the worst way that you could think, and it's not going to help you. Okay, so please get those thoughts out of your head and expect chaos. Okay, again, this is not fear-mongering. I'm not pumping out all these fear-mongering stories like a lot of these alternative news networks. I offer a lot of spiritual solutions, other things to help you, to prepare, to help you. I have a message called How to Be Calm in the Midst of Chaos, how we should be a witness, and these types of things. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So I don't want you to fear. The Lord has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. But I'm just showing you that you can't have that mentality of expecting things to just smooth out, because it's not going to happen. Okay? So now you think about all those things together, right? And again, once that stuff gets going, we could have World War III. The final thing I want to say about all that before I go into the next part is they are going to try to drive everyone to their knees, okay? So they could bring in another pandemic. They can bring in the war, food shortages. I mean, everything at once actually would be the best thing from their perspective to just depopulate, actually, quite a bit. I have a message about that. But to, as I said, bring everyone to their knees, begging for a savior. And of course, that will be the man of sin. And that's why I say, who can make war with the beast? Who is like unto him? And they're going to worship him. But they have to go to this point first. And you have to see that. And that's why it's dangerous to have this mentality of someone's going to save me, you know? Don't have that mentality. I mean, people, you're in a disaster zone. Don't be thinking someone's going to save me, someone's going to save you. You know, you should have the mentality of no one's coming to save you. You know, you rely on God first to help you, and then you physically do whatever you need to do, and you should prepare yourself now. Okay? So, thanks. That brings me to the next point, which is what should you do to prepare? Okay? So, first of all, I said I'm going to make a shorter playlist for you. If you can, go through the End Times Chaos playlist. But I'm going to make a shorter one for essential videos there called the Chaos Mindset playlist, probably 28 videos. Try to get through those, as many as you can. And then, you know, just to basically go over things, we have spiritual, mental, physical preparations, right? So in spiritual preparations, do not put this off, okay? Right now, if you don't have a good solid prayer life where you're praying consistently, you need to change that now. Repent of that. And listen, any of this stuff that's off the rails and is not right now, it's okay. You can fix it right now. All you need to do is repent of whatever it is and then just start doing it right away. Don't cry over spilled milk and, oh, woe is me, I did this and I wasted time. Who cares? Put that in the past. It's time to get right now. Okay, so the first thing is, you haven't had a good prayer life, time to fix that right now. You need to be praying every day, praying about everything I'm talking about. Instead of worrying about it, you need to be thinking about it and be sober and vigilant, but praying about it. Okay? Praying not only for yourself, but for others, right? But that consistent, private prayer time, make sure that you're doing that. And then, of course, consistent reading of the Bible. If you're not doing that, you need to start doing that right now. Reading every day, more than once a day would definitely be helpful. In the morning, before you go to work, at night, before you go to bed. And if you haven't read all the way through the Bible cover to cover at least once, now's the time to do that. You should do that right now. I suggest before the election, at least read that. And then, so just make sure you're consistently reading, and you can even read more than normal. You know, whenever there's a time of chaos and things are going crazy, it's always helpful to read more. And one thing I can add to that is read the Psalms. Get very familiar with the Psalms, because there's a lot in there that is very helpful during stressful times, during times of persecution, times of war and chaos and spiritual war. The Psalms are very helpful. Make sure you turn to those whenever you're going through time of turmoil, these types of things. So those are the two most important things spiritually, is make sure you get that consistent prayer time every day, consistent Bible reading every day, and, you know, repent of any sin, get away from sin, because sin will actually make everything worse, okay? If you have sin you need to repent of, you need to confess and get that right. You need to do that right away, because whenever you have unconfessed sin, it is going to cause anxiety. And so then you already have that anxiety. Then imagine all kinds of crazy stuff happens. You're not going to be able to handle it because you have that anxiety. It's going to make it 10 times worse, right? So get rid of all of that. You're going to have more peace than ever when you're praying, reading the Bible, getting that sin out of your life, striving to live holy by the grace of God, praying for that, the grace to do that. And of course, if I back up a second, make sure that you're saved, right? I have a couple quick videos. I'm going to talk about that. Truth in an Age of Confusion, how to know the truth and be saved. You can watch that. If you want a longer one, I have one called The Gospel from Genesis to Revelation. And then I have another one called Assurance of Salvation, how to know that you're saved. Make sure you get that down. Definitely want to make sure that you're saved before all this stuff pops off. If you've never been born again, make sure that you are. And then follow what I said about the praying and reading and staying away from sin and all these things. And so you have all that, right? The spiritual, mental, and then the mindset, right? The mental and emotional preparation is, again, having that chaos mindset. I have another video I'm going to put in that playlist. It's talking about, it says the mindset that will hurt you in the end times. And it's about fixed versus flexible mindset. You need to have a flexible mindset, because the fixed mindset thinks, well, things are going to go this way, and that's how I think things are going to go. And then when it doesn't go that way, you get all messed up, you start getting stressed out, and you know what to think. But if you have a flexible mindset, you learn how to adapt to the situation, and you expect that things could go anyway. They could be very chaotic, and you adapt to every situation, and you roll with the punches. Okay? That's very important to get that mindset as we go forward to these times. Now, when it comes to physical preps, I'm going to talk about that as well. So, in terms of your body, I made a video about that. You know, this channel doesn't really focus a lot on that type of stuff, but it is definitely important. I say get your physical and mental stuff, you know, squared away first, but you should not neglect the physical, okay? And so I did a video called Preparing for the End Physical. I'd have one Preparing for the End Spiritual, which reviews the End Times Chaos playlist. But then Preparing for the End Physical, where I just go over some basic physical fitness stuff, show you proper technique to just start from scratch if you're not in shape at all, to be able to do push-ups and pull-ups and squats and all that basic stuff, right? And you should be able to sprint a little bit. You should be able to ruck with a backpack, climbing, lifting things. Those are really important skills to have. But you definitely need to be in shape. Bare minimum, you should be walking every day. It's definitely going to hurt you if you're not in shape. So definitely get on that right away. Again, anything I'm telling you, now's the time to do it. No more procrastinating, no more putting it off for another day. You got to do it now. Also recommend trying to get off junk food as much as you can too. It's going to make you feel better, and that's going to help you to get in shape. And in terms of preparation for the future, you know, this is something that we should have a balance with, okay? So I have a video about this called Warning, Haughty Homesteading, Presumptuous Prepping. And I talk about, you know, that a lot of people who get super into prepping and homesteading and stuff, They put everything into their property and growing food and having livestock and all these preparations. They sometimes could put, a decade or more into these properties. But then something could happen which would make them have to either abandon their property or to save their lives, or it gets destroyed, like just happened with this hurricane with the floods, right? A lot of people's, preps could get, your homestead could just get washed away in a flood and a hurricane. That's just a fact, right? And it's something that you don't know that could happen one day, but you have to think that is a possibility. And you can't let that cripple you. And you should also not put all your eggs in one basket too. And so another scenario I talked about is you might have to flee if there's too many people or soldiers that are coming to the property, and the only way to save your life is to flee. Well, then you're going to have to leave. But then it's going to be hard if you have you're emotionally attached to that. So that warning is not about not doing that stuff, okay? If you have the ability, you have the money, the property, the homestead, yeah, then you should. Yes, you should grow your own food. Yes, you should have animals if you can. Yes, you should prep. You should store food. You should do, water filters and all those things as much as you can, of course. But also thinking you might have to abandon things. Abandon the property? Imagine if all the roads were gone, washed away. Imagine if there was a chemical spill. Endless scenarios. You might have to flee. So you have to have a backup plan as to what you would do if you had to flee. You have to have both. And you have to be able to let it all go and give it all up unto God, knowing that He's going to take care of you. You can't have it all in one basket, okay? Just make sure you remember that. And so I just do want to emphasize some physical preparations that everyone should have. Number one thing, and this is a lesson coming from this hurricane disaster, is water. Water is the most important thing. You can go weeks without food, but you cannot survive without water, okay? And guess what? Tons of towns their water systems are completely destroyed. The water is shut off, and only some people have wells. Neighbors are going to take, water from their neighbors' wells and bring it back home in containers. And so if you get anything down first, it would be multiple ways to filter, preserve water. Get some type of filter, no matter what it is, some gravity filter. You don't need power for, whether it's Berkey or Pro One or any of those brands, which you still can get Berkey, by the way, from some other company. And some type of filter like that. There's also water purification tablets and chemicals. And then also, definitely a good idea to store some water. If you can get some bigger containers and some 55-gallon drums with some pumps, that's great. If not, maybe just throw it in some 5-gallon buckets. Anything you can to store water, you definitely want to have some, at least have some for, like, say, a week's worth of water. So then, even if you had to leave, you still have a buffer zone to where, let's say the water gets shut off, you still have a week where you can have water and some food and stuff to get you through, to prepare, to say, okay, we might have to leave, but at least we have this to hold us over until that time, right? At least have that, okay? So number one thing, get your water set up, squared away right now as soon as possible. Please do that first. And then after that, of course, you're going to want to get food. Try to just get some cans. If you don't have anything, start with the cheapest stuff possible so you have better than nothing, right? You don't have to start off with organic gourmet meals. At least get some ramen because it's extremely cheap and it's better than nothing, right? And some canned goods, canned foods, stuff that's not going to perish, stuff that doesn't need to be refrigerated. Make sure you get at least, a few weeks worth of that, more if you can. All depends on you and your budget. And maybe consider some extra cheap stuff to be able to give to other people, to neighbors in need as well. And then consider some other supplies as well, basic necessities, maybe some basic medicine, some things for people who have headaches, some first aid, Band-Aids, creams, whatever, things like that. Just think of all the basic stuff you need. Also, another thing I want to mention too real quick before I wrap this up is you got to have something to go to the bathroom. And, you know, obviously you can dig a trench in your yard if you have the property, do some type of outhouse or trench, and you're going to need to bury stuff. But if you don't have that, a way to make things from, you know, prevent things from getting disgusting and really bad really quick is just get a 5-gallon bucket, and then there's a cheap lid you can buy from Walmart that goes on top of the lid. You put a trash bag in that, the seat on top of the 5-gallon bucket, and then you get some cat litter in a cup and you just dump. After you go, you put a cup of litter on that, and then when you're done with that, you can wrap up that bag and just put it outside somewhere. And that is way better in terms of sanitation than what else are you going to do if the water's shut off, you can't use the toilet. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? So that can get real ugly real quick. And that's one of the big things that happens in disasters is disease starts spreading from people not having proper sanitation. Definitely grab some extra cleaning supplies, stuff like that. Just, you know, go online. You can go through a checklist of some of these things. You go through, make your own checklist, right? Write down the basic things you think you will need and just get some extra stuff. It doesn't have to be a year's supply of anything. Start off with 1 week's worth, then work your way towards a couple weeks, and just have that bare minimum, especially the water, because now is the time to do that. Do not wait in doing this, okay? I already explained all the scenarios that we're facing, and we don't have time to put this stuff off any longer, okay? And so also, one last thing about that is, so it's okay to do homestead, to prep, to all that stuff, but have a plan. Say, hey, I might have to give all this up and go away. I might have to abandon and evacuate, and that's okay. I'm going to trust God to take care of me. And then have that plan, right? Have a plan to where you're going to go, what you would do if you had to evacuate, how, you know, map that out. Print off some maps as well. You can just print off from Google or other sites that have them. Make sure you have physical maps of the area that you live in, because if you don't have internet, you don't have phone, you can also download actually offline copies of maps onto your phone. Have that with you, so then you can navigate if you don't have GPS. That's also important. And then, of course, a lot of things that people neglect is off-grid communication. If you don't have phone, again, there's many different options. Obviously, you could spend all kinds of money getting fancy equipment, but the cheapest, easiest things are getting cheap Baofeng radios, handing them out to your family and friends, people that you know. And, you know, there's some books out there. I'll share it in the Telegram that teaches you exactly how to use it. And that's probably going to be your best bet. And then actually in the book that I'll share, it shows you how to make antennas and stuff so that you can go farther, reach people off grid. But just that basic stuff, okay? What I'm saying is, don't neglect that anymore. Don't put it off for another day. Take care of everything now. And also another thing that would help, actually one more thing, is try to downsize as much as possible. That's also going to de-stress. You're going to declutter, and you won't feel as bad leaving things if you know you get rid of everything that you can that is non-essential. Downsize as much stuff as you can. I'm telling you, that would really help. And maybe you can find some things that you already have that you don't have to buy, right? Maybe something hiding in the back of the basement or the garage. Downsize right now. Go through, get rid of as much stuff as you can. Donate it, throw it away. That'll also help a lot. And then one of the I keep adding stuff. One other thing is probably the easiest way to have some power for phones and also rechargeable batteries for headlamps to charge little stuff like that is you can buy a power station on Amazon or whatever, and then you can get a solar panel to go with that. Now you have off-grid power to charge all your electronics if things go down And the bonus to that is it doesn't make noise like a normal generator does, and it doesn't run out of fuel because, the gas station could shut down. You see those, there's lines all the way down the highway, during this hurricane stuff going on. And so you got to think about that as well. Having said that, it also is good to store some gas, get some extra gas cans, even if you just have some, a few squared away. Make sure you keep your vehicles above half a tank at all times now. Try not to let it go below half a tank, and have those extra cans so that maybe you could take that with you if you need, which could get you farther if you need to go, as I said, if you need to evacuate. I know it seems like a lot, but it's really not. These are just basic things that you should be thinking about right now and not procrastinating about, and that will help you. And of course, above all, we trust God to take care of us. But listen, we don't trust God and pray to God that He'll take care of us and then do nothing, right? It's like I like to say, you're like, well, I pray for God to provide for me, but then I don't go to work. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you pray and then you go to work. You pray for food and you go to the store, right? You don't expect God to just drop everything off at your house. You actually have to go out in the world and actually do stuff. And God does use means, but He wants you to seek the kingdom of God and His righteousness first and trust Him in all those things, right? And so just make sure you combine those two things together. One last thing I want to talk about before I sign off here is physical violence. So I've done a message a while ago about self-defense and refuting arguments against self-defense. Big Bible study about that. But here, just going to summarize some stuff right here, right now. Okay? So as Christians, you definitely want to avoid violence as much as you can. Okay? As much as lies within you, live peaceably with all men. Try to avoid violence as much as you can. But that does not mean being a pacifist and absolutely doing nothing in all circumstances. I think that's absolutely wrong and cowardly and awful. We absolutely are supposed to protect innocent life, okay? And so, if there's a situation where your life is in danger, your family, other innocent people, then yes, you need to intervene and physically stop people from harming people, innocent people, and eliminate the threat, and that's absolutely justified 100%. What I do not believe is justified, as things go crazy and there's without rule of law situations, there's going to be a lot of people that go off the reservation and they're going to want to be like, well, we're going to conduct raids and we're going to take people's stuff and we're going to gather things from, people's properties. Christians should not be engaging in any of that. And also, they should not be engaging in civil conflicts of warring against other factions, trying to gain property through force, disputing over territories, these types of things. Civil conflicts for these earthly kingdoms, I don't believe that that's justifiable at all. I think it's okay to defend your own life, your own property, and your neighbor's innocent life, these types of things. Again, this is mostly defense. I believe it's also very important most of the time, like I said, to be trying to help other people, doing what you can do to do that, get resources to people, help people out of situations if they're in distress, focusing on those types of things. But as far as all the other crazy violence that people want to get involved in, that is not what Christians should be involved in at all. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of people. So don't be shocked, right? Bible says that the love of many will wax cold. Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will wax cold. And you're going to see that right now. You're going to see the love of many wax cold. And people are going to get real ugly. And you don't want that to be you, right? You are supposed to be different. And one of the greatest opportunities you have right now to be a testimony is to be calm in the midst of everything going crazy, to not be losing your mind when other people are losing your mind, to be standing as a witness for Jesus Christ so that you can say, yes, I am like this because of Jesus Christ, because He changed me, because I'm born again, because I have the Holy Spirit, all these types of things. And you should be a light in the midst of all the darkness. You should be a witness in the midst of all the ugliness and violence and evil things that are going on, because it's going to get really, really bad and ugly fast. So don't fret, don't fear, right? You expect it, but you don't fear it, right? So try to keep that mentality all the way through to the end, right? What did Jesus say? Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. And that's what you have to keep your focus on. Keep your focus on Christ, on spiritual things, heavenly things, knowing that none of these things are going to last forever. All the suffering is temporary. One day it's all going to end. One day there's going to be no more death, suffering, no more crying, pain, tears. The tears will be wiped away from every eye. It's all going to end one day. And so keep your mind focused on that while you occupy till he comes, being a witness, and knowing that whether you die because of persecution, or you get sick, or maybe you one of the few that are alive when Jesus returns, no matter how you go, that you are doing what you should be doing all the way to the end. That's what you need to be focusing on, right? That not your will be done, but his will be done. That's the most important thing that we need to focus on throughout all this time. And remember, it's in contrast to everyone else. Do not be conformed to this world. Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can't go with the crowd, and especially right now. You do not want to get swept away in what everybody else is doing, okay? Because all restraint is going to be taken away. You understand that? All restraint is going to go out the window. Civility is going to disappear. And you will see people being barbaric. So we're not supposed to be like that. Be not like them. Be different. Be a witness in this world. And you can. You are given all things that pertain unto life and godliness. You have been given the power to actually live how you're supposed to, even when everyone else is not. Okay? So don't ever forget that. I think that pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to put out this final warning before we get into election time, before any other crazy October surprises happen. And I hope that you take it to heart. I hope you take it seriously. And I hope you don't put things off for another day. Get yourself ready. And God can get you through all this. You just have to pray to him, read the Word of God, and trust him. And he will get you through all of it. Okay? Thank you for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Especially go to the description and subscribe to the Telegram feed, because that's what I said. I'm going to share the PDFs there. I'm going to share some extra resources there. I'm going to drop it all in there. Anything that you need, it's going to be in there. So please subscribe to that. And you can find me there if I get censored off other platforms, anything else. Thank you for the kind comments and prayers and gifts and everything else. God bless you and have a good day.